Welcome, everyone, to the Two Off the Tee show on Fantasy Six Packs YouTube channel. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you have not already. I am your host, Keith Flemming. That is at Keith Flemming on Twitter. Joined as always by my good friend, the gambling degenerate, matching red shirts, which, way to go, Alan. Alan, a.k.a. at Actively Lazy 85 on Twitter. We look good, Alan, in red.
Now, give me a second. I'm going to turn it off. No, I'm just playing. I got to turn off the All-Star game. I had it on and I forgot. But yeah, matching red.
I didn't know anybody under 50 watches baseball. Good for you, Alan.
Man, baseball viewership and attendance is up like 8%.
Well, yeah. Well, when it's that far down, I mean, I'd hope it would be.
No, that's not really how it works. But yeah, I mean, say what you want. It's popular amongst the people that watch it. So,
and yeah, and the nursing homes and
it's becoming more global. So, yeah.
It's very popular amongst the people, like in Japan, of the video I sent you, cheering a bunt contest for their All-Star game. I'm like, what is going on here?
They didn't sell out to the Saudis. That's all I'm saying.
That touche. Yeah. They were very excited though in that video. That made my day. Like,
Japan is
I
awesome,
couldn't believe they were doing a bunting contest anyway, but the fact the fans were jacked about it. So it's been a while. We took a couple of weeks off. Not a surprise. There were some kind of secondary events. We haven't talked. How about Ricky Fowler?
Yeah, you took all my shine on the radio show.
I should have.
We were in that together. What do you mean? I was in on Ricky Fowler too.
Yeah, but not like me.
No, I mean I wasn't.
I
wasn't holding this bag, but I was like, sure, I was Ricky Fowler. Bag. I was like Ricky Fowler, 14-1. Sure. Didn't I say that on the?
You did, Alan. How many times though do I get to brag like that? Like especially for a winner, because you know somebody like me that just does 10 DK plays, and I've had a great year. Where there's been winners. I'm not the betting guru like you. I said in an article and on the radio, he's going to win. And got lucky.
I'm on a 15 event streak with having a winner in my picks. You get to brag often, actually.
Yeah, but it's not the same, though. It's really not.
It's not. But shoot,
I mean, I'm very happy to have it, but it would be great if I was betting all 10 plays every week. But obviously, I'm not doing that. Yeah. But that was cool. Very happy for him. Very excited to see what he does these next 2 weeks. We'll get into him in a little bit. How about Sepp Straka on Sunday? Yeah, 61 with a double on 18. Good Lord.
That was crazy. I'm glad he tried to go for the record, though. I appreciate that.
I do too. I will say though, as somebody who, has played, again, not at any kind of level like that, but I've won some pretty big tournaments in Georgia and stuff. And I was shocked because he allowed the other guys to have a chance to win by doing that, where I think in reality, if he'd have made par, it was pretty much over. But I'm with you. How often you get to go for the record? Really unlucky. I mean, if you look at it on 15, his putt lipped out. That would have got him, I believe, to 12 under at that time. And then he had a really good look on 16, just missed. 17 was kind of the one mistake. He had a pretty easy up and down out of the par 5. Trap didn't get up and down, and then obviously the double. But he won again. I think Sepp Straka is officially somebody that we need to pay a little bit more attention to. I think this is his 3rd year in a row with a victory on tour.
It's the John Deere Classic. Go for it, man. Like, you're not going to get your name enshrined in the history books by winning the John Deere, but you will if you
shoot 58 or 57.
Yeah. So I'm all for it, man. Go for it. I was happy. I was like, even though it obviously set him back just a tad, it was worth
still 2-shot victory. It's kind of like Scotty Scheffler, who won the Masters 4-putting the last hole, which I've always argued that's awesome. Like, I would love to be able to say, yeah, I won my green jacket. 4-putted the last hole. That's the kind of lead I had going into it. I know you're a big fan of Straka because of the Honda a few years ago. That was one of your bigger, I think, long shots to win a tournament, right? He was over 100-1, wasn't he?
Yeah, and Sepp's pretty consistent.
That's what I'm saying. I think now you have to say, when a guy wins 3 years in a row on tour, that's not easy. It really is. It's rare for somebody who's not one of the top players in the world to keep winning year after year. And I'm not comparing him to somebody like DJ, but this is kind of the way DJ's career started, where He was, involved in a few tournaments each year, but he would get a victory every single year. And then they started coming in bunches. So who knows? Maybe we need to pay attention to old Sepp Straka moving forward. Go Dogs.
Yeah.
This week we're going over to Scotland. Really glad that the two tours have teamed up for this event that started last year. That is why the field is just loaded. I mean, the Scottish Open has historically got some PGA Tour players to come and obviously be a part of, the Scottish Open, but it's rare until the last 2 years to have these kind of fields. This is even more than last year. Obviously, this is the final tune-up before the Open Championship, golf's last major next year. This is officially a DP World Tour event, but again, it's kind of a co-event in the sense that I don't totally understand how that works. I know it's officially a DP World Tour event, but it's part of this partnership between the two tours putting this event together. It's going to be at the Renaissance Club, which that is been the venue since 2018, so we have a good bit of data on it. It will be the venue through 2026, so we know it's going to be here. Last year, one change, it was a par 71 the first 5 years. This year is going to be a par 70 with kind of an unusual layout, at least for what we're used to. You have 3 par 5s, 5 par 3s, and 10 par 4s, not your traditional par 70 course, even for the PGA Tour. It's a Tom Doak, I'll get that right eventually, design. It's a Parkland, Heathland, Ocean Link hybrid, carved through a forest of evergreens, undulated sand-based terrain. Weather is the big factor. 2019, 2021, in calm conditions, played minus 1.87 strokes under par. That's per player. So that's the best and the worst in the field per round. In 2020 and 2022, where they had significant wind, rain, plus 0.96 over par. That's almost 4 shots, or excuse me, it's definitely every bit of 3 shots. They are calling for this week 10 to 30 mile an hour winds all 4 days. I've seen, I think, a forecast of like 50% the first round of rain, and then it's like 80% Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So these guys are not going to exactly having the best time. It is a links course, but there are some non-links characteristics. Only 4 ocean holes. Thick rough off the fairway. Numerous forest areas. Has a lot of links characteristics, though. Obviously, the seaside location, wind, plays firm and fast, which that, depending on how much rain we get, that's going to play a little bit slower, obviously. Deep pot bunkers, shocker there, right? For course over in Scotland, Europe, has really favored bombers in the previous years. The biggest stat since this event has been held here is actually strokes gained off the tee. There's a few of them. Strokes gained off the tee, obviously strokes gained ball striking, strokes gained approach. The one that was interesting to me, Alan, is a top 10 in the previous 2 months. Is huge for the guys at the top of the leaderboard. Each of the winners has had a top 10 appearance in the last 2 months. So, typically these guys probably only play 4 or 5 times max in that time. So they have to be in somewhat good form. It definitely favors bombers, long iron pin seekers with proximity to the hole, obviously being important. You need to play well and win. I mean, again. And we've talked about this, I know not obviously on this show, but on our old show, that when you get over to Europe, greens are slow. And that is something you really need to look at. Strokes gained putting. Some guys putt better on slow greens. Some putt worse. I've always said that slow greens are like an equalizer. So if you're an elite putter, typically you're going to lose some of your advantage on slower greens. And wouldn't you agree? It's almost more important to be a good lag putter and avoid 3 putts as it is to be somebody that's going to make a lot of putts.
Yeah, you don't want to give anything back.
Right.
So I would agree with that.
We got 3 par 5s of 575 plus. So all 3 of the par 5s are long. Par 5 scoring is obviously big. Talked about the 5 par 3s, 10 par 4s, 6 at 465. Again, huge sloping, slow greens. But again, that distance, remember, if they're downwind, they're not going to play long. If they're into the wind, they're going to play forever. So it's one of those courses that, again, if the rain is not significant, because we know that it could rain the entire time and be like a drizzle where the course is not going to get really wet or as wet, especially with the wind. It's going to open it up more to guys that are not necessarily bombers. But if it plays like it did last year, if it plays like it did in, 2020 was the other year that the weather was bad, you're going to really want to look at guys who hit it a long way off the tee. Some other things just from this event for me, or that I was looking at, is again just to really look at the ball strikers, look at guys who play well on links courses. I did not even do a course comp in my article this week on Fantasy Six Pack. Instead, Ron Close, who I share his stuff all the time. I think he's great. He's at PGA Splits 101. I think he's the best data guy in the game. And he shared over the last 10 years strokes gained on link style courses. That was my course comps. Like, obviously, I looked at guys' history at the Open Championship, at this event. But just seeing guys that play well in links courses, there's a reason the same names do well at the Open over and over again. That I really leaned into that. Do you like that thought process, or did you look a little bit different for your course comps?
I just went with stats. Like, I didn't want to do a course comp. Just because, again, I'm a little weary of guys using this as just like a practice of it.
No, you're right.
I'm a little weary of that.
Very fair.
Especially
for the PGA Tour players, right?
Yeah. So I defaulted to obviously leaning a little bit more to guys who've played in Europe, which I typically do when I have European events, but more so emphasis on ball striking, because link style courses, ball striking is important. If you're a good ball striker, you're more than likely a good wind player. I think there's correlation there. Absolutely. So I did that, and then I too went with strokes gained off the tee, like with my emphasis. So I stayed away from course comp just because, again, with me having this feeling that some guys are going to be using this as a tune-up, I didn't want to put too much time into trying to rack my brain on course comps and things like that. However, if there was a course this year that was windy, like the Valero, if I liked the guy, and this actually happened, that one of the guys I picked won the Valero this year. Totally unrelated. Like, I didn't pick him because he won the Valero.
Bad. I've already forgot who won the Valero this year.
It was Corey Connors. Yeah. But it just so happened that he fit all the guidelines for what I was looking for: decent in wind play, ball striking, strokes gained off the tee. And then he won at a generally windy event. So I was like, oh, that's
anytime
that's
we're
great.
in Texas, what do we always talk
that's
about?
Great.
There's going to be wind. Just like when we're in Europe, there's going to be wind.
Yeah. So I didn't do too much looking in the course comps. And then even on the breakdown on the Fantasy National, they didn't have much for course comps either. So
and again, the key stats, I'll just go through them because they're in my article, but we've discussed this. I leaned, just like you, heavily strokes gained, ball striking, strokes gained off the tee, recent form, because again, that top 10 stat, it's a big deal. When you've had 5 straight winners that had a top 10 the previous 2 months, that is not a coincidence. But to your point, again, if you're playing well in the wind in these conditions, you have to be striking the ball well, because if you are not hitting the ball flush in that kind of weather, the ball just goes nowhere. Strokes gained around the green, I think, is really big, especially say on the par 5s that play downwind or even into the wind, they lay up. Strokes gained putting, I put emphasis on slow greens and 3-putt avoidance. Par 5 scoring, because again, there's only 3 par 5s. They're long. The guys that eat those up, especially if the scores are higher like they've been the last 2 times we had rain and wind, I think that'll be big. And then again, the course and comp course history for me, I looked at that links strokes gained over the last decade. And obviously, I did look at how guys have done at this event, this venue, putting more emphasis on 2020 and 2022 than I did on 2019 and 2021. But I looked at, all of it.
Yeah. And it's hard to predict the weather, man.
Oh, hell yeah.
Early. But it will be windy.
The one thing that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't really know Europe that well, but I believe that they usually know if it's going to rain and if there's going to be wind. They just don't know how much and how bad. But it's not good that they're calling for like 80% rain 3 of the 4 rounds. And they're guaranteeing 10 to 30 mile an hour winds all 4 days, meaning I think the weather's going to be bad. And you just, if you're a player, hope it's not going to be awful.
Yeah, I mean, I just assume anytime there's a link style course in Europe that you're going to get wind, even if they don't call for rain.
Right.
Even if they don't call for it, like some kind of like
misty, like 7 to 10 mile an hour winds is a nice, calm day.
Some hazy drizzle. That's just the weather, and that's why I typically gravitate to guys who have played in Europe. And even when we get to the Open, people will see that I'll probably have a bias for European.
No, I completely agree. Do want to also mention real quickly. Talking about the wind and the rain. Temperatures, though, 50 to 60. So that's good for, say, your older guys with, back issues. What we always say about Tiger a few years ago. I think you famously said that if he has to put a sweater on, you're fading him.
Yeah.
If you ain't got to put a sweater on in any 4 rounds, you're like, I like Tiger.
Yeah.
So, if there's guys that have been, say, maybe dealing with back injuries or stuff like that, I don't think it's going to be cold enough where you have to, worry about it.
Yeah.
Real quickly, I'm going to do my DK plays for this week. Obviously, you can go to fantasy6pack.net, check out that article. I do it each and every week. I give you an official lineup as well as 10 or altogether 10 total plays. I'll go in more detail again on ESPN Northwest Florida Radio with Ryan Mulvey on the Inside Drive tomorrow. And I already talked to him, Alan. If you are free, I want you to come on with me for the Open Championship, and we'll tag team that bad boy the following week.
Yeah, I'll try. My schedule is just really weird, man, and my job in the bunker.
Is it a pot bunker or is it just a regular bunker?
Nah, man, this is a true foxhole. Some days you're like, dude, can't catch a break. Like, just to give you an idea, I was at work for an hour and I'd already burned 500 calories walking.
Woo!
Yeah, I'm like, what the heck, man?
That is actually, I love that because I can't stand sitting still, so I would rather be moving around than not. All right, official DK lineup this week. I am going to anchor it with Ricky Fowler, 9,500. We last saw him. Obviously, he was winning the Rocket Mortgage in a playoff versus Morikawa and Hadwin. He had been searching for that win in forever. What was most impressive to me and why I'm most bullish on Ricky these next 2 weeks is the way he did it, because he stumbled really badly in holes like 12 through 17. He had the tournament kind of won, and then he looked really shaky. I mean, shaky with the putter. His driver got shaky, even his irons. But then he birdied the 18th hole once in regulation, knowing he needed a birdie to get into a playoff. He did it like 3 feet. The crowd went crazy. And then to do it again, 20 minutes later in the playoff, that hole had only been birdied by 8 other players in the final round. So, I think that had to feel big, especially beating a guy like Colin Morikawa. It wasn't, I know that wasn't the strongest field in the world, but when you beat Colin Morikawa and Adam Hadwin, who again is a good player, so he's got that proverbial monkey off his back, and he loves link style courses. Fowler's 10th in strokes gained on link style courses over the past decade. He's got a great record at the Open Championship, 9 top 30s, 2 top 5s for his career, including a runner-up. I think he's a safe play to do well this week and a slight discount at this price with some of the other guys. Another guy in that option, though, Jordan Spieth, who we were joking about before we went on the air. I know you said no chance.
Yeah,
I know you were. He's first in strokes gained link courses over the last decade. He plays very well on link courses in bad weather. So if you're not going to have Fowler, who I really like, absolutely, I would, feel very confident Spieth's going to at least make the cut and probably be in contention, which obviously if you're spending that kind of money, you want that. All right, second in my official lineup, Wyndham Clark, 9K, the defending U.S. Open champion. Last year's first ever play ever in links course at this event, finished T16th. That's obviously good. His last 9 events, recent form being big, 2 wins, 4 top 5s, 8 top 30s. I think he's probably one of my favorite bets to win this week at his odds. He's 50-1. I really like that. Wyndham is he may be the next big thing on tour. And, he doesn't get mentioned, but he's young. He's just getting better each and every week. He's top 15 in the field in strokes gained total, tee degree, ball striking, short game, approach, around the greens, putting. He's 8th in the field in DK scoring, and yet he's the 12th most expensive player. There's some value there, I think, in that. And just with his recent play and the fact that he had a good showing with his first ever trip to this course and what's going to be similar conditions, I feel very good about Wyndham at 9,000. I think he's a definite going to make the cut, and it would not shock me at all. Like I said, if he has a chance to win this thing on Sunday. Another guy in that price range, Minwoo Lee, 8,900, won the event 2021. I know that was not when the weather was like it's probably going to play this year, but he finished T30th in 2020 when it was. So he just plays this course well, obviously, and he's a good link style player. All right, next official play, Ludvig Aberg, 8,200. This guy has arrived. He became a PGA Tour player May 29th when he was the first person to earn full status directly from college versus the PGA Tour U by finishing first. He makes pro debut at the Canadian Open June 11th, finished T25. 2 weeks later, at the Travelers Championship, he finishes T24. At the Rocket Mortgage, finishes T40th. And then last week, fires a 63 on Sunday to finish runner-up T2nd. He's the next big thing in golf for Europe. This guy is unbelievable. He's lived up to the hype since he's turned pro. It's only a matter of time before he is consistently in that like $9,000 to $10,000 range on DK. And I'm going to use him as much as possible when he's at this range. And again, the most common stat at the Renaissance Club is strokes gained off the tee. Watch the video that I shared in my article on Twitter of the driving performance he put on last week. He hits bombs. And what's really impressive, he drives the ball straight. Most guys are either going to cut it or draw it. His driver, more than any other club in his bag, he hits a dead straight bullet. In his 4 events as a pro, 80 birdies and 4 eagles. This kid is made for DK. He is just, I'm just salivating. 8,200. I'm hoping not a lot of people are on him this week. Next up, Alan, you might want to go earmuffs here. Adam Scott, 8,100. You knew it was coming. He checks all the boxes for what I'm looking for in a player over the next 2 weeks. He's 19th in the field in strokes gained off the tee, has 3 top 10 finishes in his last 6 events. He has a great track record on links courses. He's 14th over the last decade in strokes gained on links courses. And I know you know this, that I've been banging the drum and why I've been using him successfully on DK for the last month or so. His iron game was the only part of his game that was really bad early in the year, and he has really figured that out over his last 6 events. The last 6 events, he's gained 4.8 strokes total on approach. To show you the difference, earlier in 2023, the previous 6, he lost 13.3 on approach. So if he continues to hit his irons this way, and with Adam Scott's history and ability to play, link style courses, I think he's a really good value at this price. And again, I say this all the time on the ESPN show when I go on it. A lot of people say you get in the 7,000 range, and that's when you need to worry about, well, I just want to make sure guys make the cut. I do not believe that. I think if you do single entries and double ups, which is what I recommend people doing, you have the best chance to cash. Anybody 8,400 and below, you need to feel good they're going to make the cut. And I feel really good that he will. Fifth guy in my lineup, Alex Smalley, 7,900. Over his last 16 rounds, only Scotty Scheffler is gaining more strokes on approach. We know the absurd numbers that Scheffler has had on approach this year. He gained almost 6 shots Saturday on the field. It was the third most by any player on tour in the last 2 years. I think he is probably my favorite play this week on DK at his price. He's top 20 in the field in strokes gained approach, tee to green, ball striking, all things that we discussed. He has 2 top 10 finishes in the last 4 events, including his runner-up last week at the John Deere. And the big thing, he finished T10th in this event in his first link-style course appearance last year, similar conditions. I think he's a great bet this week to finish top 5 or top 10. I love him on DK. I'm going to have Smalley in every lineup. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. Another guy in this range, Thomas Dietrich, 7,500. He's finished no worse than 30th at this event the last 3 years, including a T10 last year and a runner-up in 2021, proving when it plays hard, he does well. When it plays easy, he plays well. He is just, to your point, these guys that have a lot of experience on the European Tour do well. And then rounding – go ahead, buddy.
He's German, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
I get him and Peters mixed up a lot.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That's why I had to ask.
They look alike too. They're built. But Dietrich is the guy that did not go to live. And then rounding out my lineup, Jordan Smith, 7,200, a true DP World Tour guy. If you're like me and you really watch a lot more PGA Tour than you do DP Tour, you may not even know who Jordan Smith is from England. He's a very solid golfer. He plays great on link style courses. In his 2 appearances at this event, he's made the cut both times. 2 top 40 finishes. Last year, he finished T24. He's someone who hits it a long way off the tee, 19th in the field in strokes gained off the tee. We know that's going to play big this week. Has a recent top 10. Remember, that's a must at the European Open. I believe that was 3 weeks ago. And he's 24th in strokes gained on link-style courses over the past decade, which is big. Because, again, over the decade, you think of all the guys that can, qualify for that list. Shows he plays really well here. I just think he's an extremely safe play to make the cut. And it wouldn't shock me if, say, again, in that top 25 come tournament end, and at this price range, you can't ask for much more than that. And then finally, the other option in this price range, I got Brandon Wu, 7,100. He finished T6 last year at this event, his first appearance here. He's 20th in the field on DK scoring, despite being the 48th most expensive player. I really like Jordan Smith, so I don't know how many lineups I'll have Dylan Wu in, but I do. I mean, Dylan Wu, see, I did it. I have Brandon Wu in, but because there's another, it's like Dietrich and Peters. But I will have Brandon Wu probably in a couple sprinkled in here and there. And I think he's fairly safe because he's done very well on courses that strokes gained off the tee has been a huge metric. Like the Mexico Open was one of the ones more than any PGA Tour event this year that strokes gained off the tee was the key factor. Remember, he was in contention to that right to the very end. I think he finished like 4th or 5th. So do you have anything you want to add or any guys that you like for DK this week that I did not mention? Or you just want to shit on my picks?
I never look at the DK prices, but I was looking for was it Ludwig? How do you say his name?
Which one?
Ludwig, or is it Ludwig?
You talking about Aberg?
Yeah, Aberg.
He was on my list.
No, but how do you say his first name?
I fucked it up. It was I think it's Ludwig, but I don't know if I'm saying that. Ludvig.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, but I was looking for his price on DraftKings because he's
8,200. He is part of my official lineup.
Yeah, he's 50-1 though for a bet because I remember seeing his name and wanting to put him in for potentially winning this week, but then I was like, not yet.
It's like opposite of the DK, right? Where he's undervalued on DK, but 50-1 for a guy that's only played 4 career events. That's kind of nuts.
Yeah, and that's why I went back to look because I was like, did I miss something? That doesn't seem to add up. But no, the only thing I would say is I like Alex Noren, Cameron Davis, for higher end gambles.
Why Cam Davis?
Why Cam Davis?
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Just because he graded out well for win play, strokes gained off the tee, and ball striking
He's
for
Australian, right?
Yeah, and he's 110 to 1, so he's a long shot. But I'm just saying, like, if you,
I'm looking for my DK lines. That's what I'm asking.
far as DraftKings goes, like if you're trying to top off, I think he's a guy that's probably he can't be over 8,000. Probably
look it up right now because now you got me wondering what his price is.
Yeah, but Alex Noren was another guy that I thought
has a great track record at this event.
Yeah. But those were the only guys, really. Actually surprised you didn't have Shane Lowry anywhere in there.
I think he's a little too expensive. He's 9,100.
Okay, all right.
But I did look really hard at Hatton. Is actually the guy that I was really close to going with. He's 9,600. I mean, again, ball strike. All the things we talked about. That's Hatton. His one bugaboo's putting. Again, I believe that. Slow greens kind of I am gonna have to put Cam Davis. That's a great call. Cam Davis is 7,300.
Yeah, I was gonna say he could possibly be that high. But that was the guy that I thought.
What do you think about Power this week? He was the other guy that I had circled. He's 7,500.
Yeah, I looked at Seamus, but his ball striking's really
it's not been as good as it was last year.
Yeah, and that's what turned. I was like, honestly, look, if
what about On then? On's ball striking has been unbelievable this year.
Yeah, and I was gonna say something about that too because I don't have any Asian golfers, but like all of them that I saw, I had considered. Even Kurt Kitayama, isn't he Asian golfer too? Yeah, I considered.
He's cheap this week.
Yeah, I considered messing around.
He had a runner-up. Was it last year or the year before? He had a runner-up here recently at this event.
Yeah, he's streaky though, man.
He's 7,400, but he's a great again off the tee. One of the guys that gains as many strokes as anybody on tour.
Yeah, I would say for the folks listening, just consider your options.
Sorry, one other guy I want to ask you about because I'm looking at it now. How did I miss him? Our boy Gary Woodland, 7,600. He's 9th in the field, strokes gained off the tee, 5th in strokes gained approach. Did we maybe miss that?
He's a solid ball striker, but my European bias kept him out. I got one American in my
really on your whole card.
Yeah, one American.
Wow. I think. All right. Well, let's get right into that then. Let's get into the bets. So let's start at the top and then we'll get into your picks. Scheffler. I've said this a few times. He is not plus 650 good. I think he's great. I don't mean to sound that way, but he's having one of the greatest ball striking years ever. But his putting is so bad that would you ever want to put plus 650 odds on Scheffler right now?
No, I don't want plus 650. Again, I would rather just wait and live bet him.
And explain just in case somebody's hearing that first time, like the thought process to that.
Same thing I'll do with Rory too. Although Scotty sometimes starts out fast, but guys who are under 10 to 1, more than likely when they start out, you can catch them at least 15 to 1.
Sometimes before they even tee off, right? Yeah. If they're in the afternoon and somebody goes low or whatever.
Yeah. You can catch them 15 to 1, sometimes 20 to 1. You can maximize the value of the player if you just wait a little bit. And it just kind of varies, but rarely do you see a guy who's plus 650 come into a tournament and then at the end of round 1, he's either still plus 650 or lower. He's usually at 10 to 12 to 1. So that's double the value of what you were getting him before. And he's probably only about 4 or 5 strokes back. So that's usually what I do. Like anybody that's under 10 to 1, I'm looking to bet them at the end of round 1 live, or at the end of round 2 or middle of round 2 live.
All right. So tell me, who is your lowest odd guy this week?
Matthew Fitzpatrick at 25 to 1.
I like
it. I didn't mess with a lot of the guys under that because again, I'm assuming that these guys are prepping for the British Open.
All right. Let's go. Let's just talk some of these guys in this range then. I do have Fowler 20 to 1.
I considered that.
I I don't love those odds. I thought they should be a little higher. Again, I'm shocked Spieth is 25-1 and Fowler's 21, when in reality, they've done about the same thing this year. I mean, Spieth did just as much, like not quite as consistent as Fowler, but Spieth has been, top 10s, top 5s here left and right, struggling to get the W's. Spieth is the other guy I would look at in that range at 25-1. Did you consider Fleetwood or Hovland at all? Or Cantley, who has a good track record?
I considered Fleetwood, but I'm still heavy on the strokes getting off the tee. I think
which is kind of his weakness, right?
Yeah, when every article says it favors bombers, I don't know if I really want to mess with headwind. With a guy who doesn't have a lot of distance anyway. It would be very, very risky at those odds. So I left him alone. I looked at Victor Hovland, didn't really like what I saw in his stats either. Although if there was a wild card, he would be one of them that if he played better than the stats said, I wouldn't be surprised.
Right. I have Wyndham Clark 35-1 on my board, bombs it. Again, just playing superb golf. Really is. Do you like that, or do you think that those odds are too low?
No, I think that's fair considering his play this year. I think that's like, sports, the books basically kind of hoping and hedging that he doesn't hit them again at like 60 or 70-1. So it's fair. I went with Shane Lowry at 35-1. I mean, anytime it's in Europe, you kind of have to try Shane. But Shane's still been playing some pretty decent golf, and he was playing decent golf at a time where he sometimes or historically hasn't been at his best. So I really like the idea of him coming in with, like you talk about, recent form. I didn't have to go back too far to see that he's been having some consistency in his game, and then this is home. This is familiar territory for him. So I think in a somewhat lighter field than, say, a major, he's going to do some good things. I even have him as a prop at top 5 plus 650.
I like that. I think I know one of the guys you're going to have on your card when we get down a little deeper. Rose was another guy I really considered. Did not add on my DK line. Did not put him on my betting board. What do you feel about Rose this week?
I considered it too. There was something that red flagged him, but I don't know if it was the stroke. It wasn't the stroke.
He's not a huge stroke gain off the tee. Yeah. Ball striking and approach numbers are great. It's not bad. It's just he's not kind of like Adam Scott, for instance, who's somebody who I do have on my betting board. Not to win. I do really like him at 11-1 to top 5 and 5-1 to top 10. Scott, is top 20 in strokes gained off the tee, to where I think Rose is like 50th, and all the other numbers are very similar for ball striking and approach. And to your point, I'm leaning heavily. Those guys are not that far off, 55 and 45-1. I'm going to lean on the guy that gains a lot more strokes off the tee.
So if I like a stat like strokes gained off the tee, I try to keep my guys that I pick in the top 25 of that particular stat. At most, I'll stretch it to 40, depending on how deep the field is. And then in order for me to stretch it to 40, you've got to have some other variance that supports it. So like if you're number 25 and or let's put it this way, if you're number 40 in strokes gained off the tee, but you're number 10 in ball striking, then I'll probably put you in my lineup because I like ball striking as well. You're top 10 in that. Top 40, anybody in the top 40 is just one good round or one good tournament away from being top 10.
It's a great
lot of times. Yeah, so you don't have to overthink it too much. If you're getting past 40, then you are running a little bit of a risk of guys who just haven't been consistent enough to expect them to bump their game up in that particular section. But
just to further that point, in most categories, if a guy's top 10, that is literally elite, meaning there's usually a pretty big disparity between the top 10 and everybody below. Yeah. But to Alan's point, like the difference between, say, the 12th guy in strokes gained approach and the 40th, it's not as much as you would think. I know you hear that number and you're like, oh, that's such a big difference. We're talking about, again, Adam Scott gained 4.6 shots total over 6 events on strokes gained approach, and he was hitting his irons well. It just shows that it's it gets tricky with that stuff. You don't want to fall in love. So I really like the point you're making there, that you look at the overall picture on ball striking numbers, where you're looking at approach, ball striking, and off the tee, and not just completely zoning in on off the tee. Sorry, go ahead, buddy.
No, because at the end of the day, it's all going to come into play,
right?
Whether you want to believe it or not. If these are your top stats, then more than likely they're going to come into play. And the guy who might be maybe losing the stroke off the tee, if he's striking the ball well, his approach shots will probably be better, and he'll still be in contention. So the wind is a big equalizer anyway. So ball striking, again, just the stat that I always harp on whenever we talk about wins, links, and things like that, default to tiebreakers and so forth. Anytime you're not sure about what to do on a golf course, go with the ball striker. All right, because they're more than likely going to be playing good golf.
Did you go with your boy? I want to know. The suspense is killing me. Who do you think? Rye.
Oh no, I thought about it.
You didn't? He won this event a few years ago.
Yeah, I know. I didn't go with Rye.
Man, I may have to go all in with him this week then.
I know. I didn't go with him because, again, man, I can't pick him or else he'll do bad. I love Aaron Rye, man.
He played well for you last time.
Yeah, he's gonna be a moneymaker for me eventually. I might prop him at the.
So I think he's 12-1 to top 5 plus 550 top 10. Those pretty good odds for a guy that, again, has that track record at this event.
Yeah,
great ball striker too.
Yeah, and he's actually not bad off the tee, which was which I had checked anyway. But no, I went with Justin Thomas at 45-1.
Woo! I love it.
More so because, again, I'm convinced that at some point it's going to turn around for him.
And then again, putting is not. I think putting is so much more random at opens.
And then also because 45-1 is really high for him,
especially in a field that's not going to be as strong as next year.
Yeah, and then also to people who know me, sometimes I'll pick a guy just so it'll force me to keep an eye on him. Mm-hmm. I did that for Fowler for what, like 2 months?
Forever, yeah.
Yeah. Like just, hey, yeah, I'll take Fowler on the prop, or I'll text you and be like, I'll put like $5 on Fowler. But it makes me watch that golfer. And then it reinforces if they're being consistent. If I saw something like, oh, you're not too far off. Like Morikawa, what did we say before the tournament? Like if he gets his putting together, he'll be in contention. And I sprinkle some money on him, and then lo and behold, he's a stroke back basically. So it's just one of those things.
Technically, he was there. He just lost in the playoff.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that for me, I will do as a strategy, because at some point you're going to get that money back. Like you have to be confident in your system that, $5 here, $10 there, hell, $100 here, $100 there for me in baseball is going to come back around threefold at some point. So you just have to stay consistent, because once you find that trend or you find that hot golfer, you ride the wave, and all it takes is one win. Like I've probably spent like if we're doing units and I'm like $10 a unit, I've probably lost like 7 units on Ricky Fowler this season, between picking him as a winner and picking him on props, and then lo and behold, he wins 14-1, and I had 5 units on him there. So you do the math. I'm up on Ricky Fowler for the rest of the year.
And by the way, you had to hit. I think you're up more than that, because he's a lot of top 10s.
Yeah, I'm just throwing out the numbers.
I know what you're saying. Like, I'm just saying, like, Fowler's actually been great for us this year.
Yeah, because anybody who keeps, like, sometimes people keep track of wins and losses or missed calls, and you have to understand golf is a little different system of wins and losses when it comes to gambling. Because again, one tournament a month of an outright winner will set you up the rest of the month. That's all you need is one tournament, and I think we've kind of been on pace for that anyway. But not to get super sidetracked. But yeah, Justin Thomas is in there. But
can I convince you with the Alex Smalley at 71? I think that's great value.
70-1?
Yeah, 70-1.
Yeah, no, I considered that Ludwig. I'm gonna just say Ludwig.
Adberg, yeah.
But yeah, Ludwig and Smalley, I think I am gonna do at least for props. Just because I am curious.
Smalley's 12-1 to top 5, which I like that, and he is 6-1 to top 10. I like both of those.
Yeah, I've heard Ludwig's name often. And so he has hit my radar a little to keep an eye on.
He's gonna just smoke that draw. I can't wait to see him at an open course, like downwind. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
I went with Corey Connors at 55 to 1. Just because he's been very consistent. And again, like I said, before I even like looked at his results over the season, I knew he won the Valero, but that wasn't why I picked him. But it makes me more confident that he'll be able to handle the win. And even in the tournaments where he's kind of played bad, he's still been in contention or been good. So I have Corey Connors as a top 10 play at 5 to 1 as well.
Some props I have, and I'll get into my one long shot. Thomas Dietrich 9 to 1 to top 10. I love that. Again, he's got the 30th place, 10th, runner up. That's his last 3 years. I think 9 to 1 to top 10 is great value. And Sahith Theegala 20 to 1 to top 5, plus 850 to top 10. I look at what he did in the Open last year, which is first ever trip to Europe to play golf. He finished 13th. Theegala just seems to play courses well when they're, more about bombing the ball off the tee. I'm not sure yet about the Open. I haven't digged in enough to that track, but 21 to top 5 and plus 850 to top 10. I really like those odds. And then Jordan Smith is my long shot. I have him at 110 to 1 to win, and I also like him at plus 850 to top 10.
I did Alex Noren at 80 to 1. He actually fits the bill of a guy who just recently finished, I think, number 9. Mm-hmm. So he's coming into the tournament in decent form. And then Cam
scores too, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then Cam Davis 110 to 1. I don't fully expect anybody to over 101 to win, but I have hit a couple. Straka was one. Xander Schauffele obviously was my favorite and earned a lifetime fandom for me. And then there was we almost hit a Streelman one as well at one point, but Webb Simpson gypped us. but when you look at these guys who are 110 to 1. Typically, they excel in one or two particular sections of your stats, and then they're terrible at everything else. And Cam Davis has excelled at ball striking in the wind and strokes gained off the tee in the wind as well. And that's why I gave him a shot at 110 to 1. I think Australian golfers do just as well.
They do very well.
Yeah, and on European courses as they do over here in America. So
Australia is like the Texas of the non-Europe. Because it's so windy over there all the time.
Yeah.
The one other guy I want to mention, Brandon Wu's 180 to 1, 30 to 1 to top 5, 12 to 1 to top 10. Again, runner-up last year at this event. He's had a top 10 finish in the last 2 months. I know the Mexico Open is obviously not like a link style course, but again, it was one that was heavy on off the tee stuff. I'm not sure which of those bets I'm going to do, but I'm definitely doing one of those 3.
Yeah, I mean, at that odds, you could do $5, and if you win, you're good to go. Yeah, like honestly, anybody looking to bet long shots, man, $5-10 a long shot, you're fine, man. It's not going to kill you.
All right, anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
I'm doing fan cast tomorrow. We're doing the Chiefs. So you probably don't even know this, but it's like an original idea I came up with. Cool. God, back in like 2016.
Am I going to be on the Falcons?
Yeah, if you want to. But essentially what I do is I pick a fan, or at this point, maybe 2, but we talk just about their team, but it's a fan-driven show. Like I have a criteria for subjects.
Just on the Facebook page, or?
Yeah, it'll be on IBN.
Awesome.
But like it's not a like an argument thing. Like essentially think of it like your team has the floor. We talk about nobody but your team, your outlook, what you think is going to happen. And then towards the end, we allow rival teams and other fans to comment and create interaction.
I love it.
We used to do it on Blog Talk, so we would open up the lines and people could call in to ask.
You're going to do it on Facebook?
Yeah, I'm going to do it on Facebook on StreamYard. And then hopefully I can.
Dude, let me know. I'd love to do the Falcons with you.
Yeah, I'll get it set up to where people will just type in comments and we can take questions live.
Let me know when you do the Giants so I can talk shit to Joe Matz.
Yeah, like it was very popular for
I
a
think this is a
couple
great
years.
idea.
It's just a lot of work to go through 32 teams.
Well, that's true because you're the one constant.
Yeah,
Right?
and then the crazy part about it is that a lot of times for teams that we can't find fans in the group, I end up having to run the podcast by myself. And I mean, I think I do a decent job talking about like the Jets and stuff like that, where you can't find fans, or the Texans, we can't find fans, but now we've got 5,000 plus members. It seems like we've got a fan for everybody. So,
and you would think you could find a Jets fan with Aaron Rodgers being this year, I'd hope.
And I still have to do the college podcast. Not sure how I'm going to do that. Not sure if I even have a co-host, but I don't want to get away from college football because it's a lot of fun. And I enjoy college football fans more than I enjoy NFL fans. I love it.
Especially Georgia Bulldog fans like your boy.
No, honestly, SEC games have been the coolest thing to me. Like just seeing how involved the fans are. Bama fans were annoying as crap. I've never seen such entitled fans whine and cry about everything. And I'm like, dude, you're still winning.
They've won 5 national championships in like the last 12 years.
But it's just the culture and atmosphere of it reminds me of soccer. Where people love this team to the death. We got to Arkansas for the Texas-Arkansas game, and we got out the truck to check into the motel, and there was like a 6-year-old standing there looking at us like a little kid. It's almost like something from a movie. You're like, oh, look at the cute kid. And Ben was like, hey, little fella, you good, man? Where's your parents? And the kid is 6, looks at Ben, sees him with the Texas Longhorn hat on, gives him double middle fingers and goes, horns down, bitch. He's 6. And his parents high-fived him. And it's just that kind of atmosphere that just makes me love college football. So maybe at some point we'll get that when Live and PGA merges. We'll have that Sergeant Slaughter versus
especially when Tiger and Rory own teams, right?
Yeah, right. It'd be great, but just again, not trying to go on a tangent, but yes, I will. Football season's coming. I will be doing football related things and trying to share that on my Twitter, sharing bets, sharing my experience in the Super Contest in Vegas as well.
I love it. Again, please be sure to join Fantasy Six Packs Discord. You can join today by using the promo code F6P. MLB for an extra 15% off. I will be on the Inside Drive tomorrow on Northwest ESPN talking again about the golf tournament. We're definitely going to have to talk a little bit about the PGA Live kind of bombshell that came out today. And then very excited to announce that I will be writing a DFS column for Fantasy Six Pack in the fall for football. It'll be very similar to the golf one. And then for those that know, I do a DFS podcast on Fantasy and Frames, and I am happy to announce that this guy, Alan, myself, and Joe Matz, who is my co-host of the Daily Fix, our DFS podcast, Alan is doing Super Contest. The dude is one of the best handicapper pickers I've ever seen. What was your percentage last year in the contest?
I would say one of the best amateurs. I'm not a pro.
What was your percentage last year?
I was at 67. Yeah. I didn't even win that. Good. But that's crazy though. Like honestly, if I told somebody I was 67% last year, they wouldn't even believe me. Especially after I told them that I tied for like 15th. Like but
there was like 8,000 people. So
yeah, and I always go back to the Hamlin.
And you got screwed.
If Hamlin
lost the Bills Bengals game.
If that game finishes because the Bengals were on a tear. If that game finishes, that's literally $10,000 more for me. It's so ridiculous. But at least in the Westgate contest, if that happens, they will allow me to make up that game or something like that. So that's.
But we'll be adding a gambling show to Fantasy and Frames. We got to come up with a title. We'll get to that. But what it's going to be, I'm going to host. Alan's going to give his 5 official plays that will be in the Super Contest each and every week on the show. Really, Joe's going to be there just to add insight and stuff and, argue with Alan. But I'm really looking forward to it. I've done gambling shows during football season with Alan before. You learn so much from them. Great advice. I'm really looking forward to that. So a lot of cool stuff. And I'm very excited for the Fantasy Six Pack article because, to be honest, I'm way better at DraftKings or football than I am golf. Even though this year I've had a good year with golf, but football the last 2 years, me and Joe have just killed it, especially with the bargain and median tier plays, and that's what I'm going to bring to the article. I don't even know if I'm going to include expensive plays. I think it's just going to be all about those value plays. I think that's what wins it. So a lot of cool stuff. And again, we will finish the golf. We're going to go all the way through, the Tour Championship at East Lake. I don't think we'll be doing any stuff during the fall. It's just too much football going on. And then we will start right back again, in January with the Tournament of Champions. So a lot of good stuff. I love, doing any of these shows with Alan. But Alan, I hope you have a good one. For Keith and Alan, this has been the 2 Off the Tee Genesis Scottish Open preview. We'll see you guys soon. Good luck on your bets. And next week, Open Championship. We will have Ryan and Jay on the show with us, and we will do our draft and try to prevent Ryan from going 3 for 3. See you guys.
Take care.